I'm Hugh Hewitt, former National Security Advisor. Ambassador Robert O'Brien is my old friend, my former law partner, and I want to turn to him on an important question. Good morning, Mr. Ambassador. Welcome back to the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Good morning, Hugh. Great to be with you.
Okay, here's my problem. There's a supermajority of Americans who are suspicious of big tech. I know you talk to them. I know you advise them. The trouble is, if we run in and regulate them, we will lose an edge that we need vis-a-vis China and Russia. So what's the balance, Mr. Ambassador?
Well, Hugh, it's a great question. Right now, 10 of the 20 biggest companies, tech companies in the world, are based out of Beijing. The advantage that we have with tech is we've got quantum research being done, we've got AI research being done, we've got machine learning being done by companies like Google and Apple and Facebook, Meta. We've got Silicon Valley. We've got our relationship with Israel and Tel Aviv, which is the second Silicon Valley. We've got smaller Silicon Valleys all over the U.S. and Austin and Boulder and Provo and Boston and Miami now. So to attack big tech and people are frustrated, understandably, by the censorship and deplatforming and that sort of thing. But to attack big tech and to give the entire advantage to Beijing and TikTok and WeChat and Weibo and all of their companies would just be, a total self-inflicted wound on the U.S., a major own goal.
I understand that. I don't know. Have you been successful in persuading them that they have to change their public profile and indeed how they operate vis-a-vis American politics? Because they're making everybody angry at them as opposed to talking about what they are doing to protect the United States.
Well, I think that's right, Hugh, but I think we've got to use a scalpel here. And also we have to realize that the market is working. I mean, you've got Twitter, which is the biggest offender, which people are upset about, is about to be bought by Elon Musk. Elon seems to be pretty committed to free speech, and so we'll see how that works. You've seen Netflix has had their market share or their stock price devastated, and they've gotten rid of a lot of their shows that were, was becoming woke ink, and no one wanted to watch it, and so people don't want to watch the documentaries about the Sussexes and the Obamas, and so Netflix is going back to, more normal programming, and so look, the market is having an effect on tech, but we could also take a look at very very narrow focused efforts on censorship and not try and destroy these companies and destroy our advantage that we've got against Beijing when it comes to research on these big issues of quantum, which only the private sector can do in America.
But Mr. Ambassador, I've sat down with Mark Zuckerberg before. I've sat down with a bunch of big tech types, and I'm always amazed that they're very, very young, and they have no memory of superpower competition or grand strategy. Have they put in what they didn't grow up with? I mean, do they have an awareness of the geopolitical stakes now?
Well, they're starting to get an awareness of China and understanding how devastating it is, and you're seeing the companies, even the ones who are trying to kowtow to China to get access to China, have realized that's never going to happen. They're also business people, and they're realizing that the contracts with the Pentagon for research and whether it's cloud computing or cloud storage and that sort of thing are pretty significant economic drivers. And so again, I think that the market is working. We've got to make sure that we don't destroy our tech industry and hand the leadership in big tech to China. At a time when we're in great power competition. Let me give you a quick example. When Russia invaded Ukraine, the first thing they did was cut off Ukraine from the internet and global comms. Elon Musk, and not a client, not a friend, pointed Starlink to Ukraine, and people said, "Well, you're not going to be able to get the ground platforms and boxes to the Ukrainians." And within 24 hours, you had the uplink stations, and Ukraine stayed connected to their soldiers on the front line, but also the rest of the world. And that's the private sector. That wasn't an American government program. It wasn't a European program. It was a U.S. private company keeping Ukraine in the fight. That shows you what tech can do for us in great power competition.
Well, let me close there on great power competition. I don't know if the Silicon Valley leadership has ever sat down for a seminar on GPC. I really don't know if they have. They're computer geniuses. They did computer science, but they didn't do history, Robert O'Brien. Are they filling in the gaps? Because when I look at their leadership, and especially their consulting teams, they're all left-wing liberals who are young and have no idea what great power competition is about.
Well, I think there may be some truth to that, but I think it's also changing, and it's going to change when we have a GOP Congress 230 Republican congressmen and probably a 51, 52 GOP majority in the Senate come November, and I think that's going to drive people to understand what's happening. I think you're going to see Kevin McCarthy launch a major China commission in the House, and so I think if they're not interested, they're going to, people are going to say they're not interested in politics, but politics is interested in you, and geopolitics is interested in you. And I think it's I think it's going to be a crash course for our friends in Silicon Valley, and I think at the end of the day, they're going to understand that the great blessings of prosperity that's come from the U.S. is going to drive them to stick with the U.S. side.
Congress does need to slow down, but the folks in Silicon Valley need to open up their thinking to people like Ambassador O'Brien. Good to have you on, Mr. Ambassador. I'll be back tomorrow, America, on the next Hugh Hewitt Show.